Hey going guys, today I'm going to do a vid on the two greatest games on the Game Boy Advance, and that is the two Golden Sun games. Um, they are the best, one of the best RPGs I've ever played, and they are the best RPGs on the GBA, and they are the best games on the GBA, period. Um, the reason I'm doing this vid is that on the 28th of October in Japan, Gone Sun Dark Dawn was finally released, and I gotta say, for fans across the world, we have waited 7 years for this to come out. It has been a long wait. It's felt like an eternity, and I am overjoyed that the game has finally been released. Now, for all the English-speaking people like myself, you have to wait one more month until the game gets released in North America. So I've waited 7 years. I can at least wait one more month. Um, the story I came across the Golden Sun games is really cool and heartwarming. Is back in the day when the Game Boy Advance was being advertised in all the game magazines, there was huge articles on it. I was obsessed with it. I thought this is going to be one of the best, coolest handhelds ever. And the one thing that, of course, got my attention is this has Super Nintendo-like capabilities, and I absolutely love my Super Nintendo. So I saw this as the second age of the Super Nintendo, and I was overjoyed. Whenever I decide to buy a new console or a handheld, I always look for the first big RPG that it has to offer. I was looking through the games in development. The one game that caught my eye was Golden Sun. Now, I looked at the graphics and thought, wow, this looks better than the Super Nintendo. It looks fantastic. At that stage, I didn't really want a big desire for the Game Boy Advance. I was going to wait until it dropped, until Golden Sun came out. What happened is a couple of months later, I came across a magazine in the news agency and it had a big 4-page article on Golden Sun. And when I read into it, I absolutely jumped for joy. When I read that the game was made by Camelot and the Takahashi brothers who made the Shining Force games, I nearly lost it and made a huge scene in the news agency. Everyone thought I won money or won gold lotto, but not. I was just so excited that these guys are finally making another game, because at that time they had a huge in about 1998 1999 they had a huge falling out with Sega over the localization of Shining Force 3, and the Takahashi brothers had enough and they cut ties with Sega, and then they went to Nintendo and they made all these Mario sports games. And when I found out that they were going to make another RPG and it was Golden Sun, I was really excited because Shining Force 2 remains one of my favorite games of all time and made a huge impact on my life. When I found this out, I said I got to get a Game Boy Advance, in time for this game. So I basically did chores for money. I helped my dad with his cleaning business, whatever, to get money. When what happened is around this time was leading up to April and my 16th birthday, and basically I saved nearly close to nearly more than half, a bit, and it won't be till another month or two until I get all the money to get a Game Boy Advance and Golden Sun. And what happened is one day I came home for my 16th birthday and I got a note saying go into your bedroom, and in my bedroom it was flooded with empty boxes. And what happened? And I had to go through all the empty boxes, and sure enough, one of them had a Game Boy Advance and a copy of Golden Sun. And oh, I was so happy that I got it. And I definitely reckon it was one of the best birthdays ever, because no one went to that much trouble to make it fun finding it. Um, it's my most memorable birthday. So what happened was I got the game, I put it in, and I swear to God I couldn't put it down. I ate my meals as quick as I can. I went to the toilet as quick as I can. I just wanted to play this game, as much as I could. The next day when I went to school, all I could think about was going home and playing it. The game takes place in a world where it's basically governed by the powers of alchemy, and alchemy is made of the four elements: fire, wind, water, and earth. And in the world, there are people called adepts, and they basically control alchemy into a power known as synergy. and this is pretty much magic. And what happened is in the game you take control of a boy named Isaac, and what happens is his village of Vale, a tragedy occurs and he loses his parents, and his friends also lose loved ones. And what happens is the game takes place a couple of years later, where him and his friends are under the tutelage of a scholar named Creighton, who's studying the effects of alchemy across the world. And what happens is one day they decide to go into Sol Sanctum, which is a place atop uh, Vale where it's off limits. And one thing leads to another, and Isaac and his friend Garrett are forced upon a quest where they have to go across the world to the four elemental lighthouses. I won't get into too much of the story. I want you to experience it for yourself. But what happened was the first game takes place in, I'd say, first half of the world, one of the main continents of the world, and houses the first two lighthouses. Then the second game, The Lost Age, takes place in the other half of the world and has the last two lighthouses, which I thought was really, really cool. A lot of people hated they couldn't include it on the one cartridge, but I tell you what, there's no way in hell that you can include both these games on one cartridge. They did a fantastic job with what they did. The battle system is fantastic. When I looked at the first screenshot of the battle system, it reminded me of Shining Force, because how the character and the enemy's position is exactly the same as the Shining Force games, except it's one-on-one. It's party versus party. The Synergy system is awesome, and what I like about it is Synergy is learned depending on your level. It's also learned depending on how many creatures you have, and these creatures are called Djinns, and they're elemental spirits that you find throughout the quest. And what happens is whenever you find a Djinn, he upgrades your class and your stats, and will give you more synergy to learn, which I thought was amazing. And the cool thing is you can mix and match. There's 7 Djinns to each element, so there's about 28 in total. And one thing that just I absolutely loved is mix and matching, finding all the different classes. But at the end of the game, the best thing you could have done is just equip all 7 Djinn the same, and that'll unlock all the best moves of each class. Like the main character got Ragnarok, where it's this giant sword that just completely obliterates the enemy. The other thing is you can use Djinn to summon all these wonderful guardians, and I remember looking at the artwork and was blown away. It was so good. The music is composed by Multi Sakuraba, who has been with Camelot for ever since their first game under the name of Camelot. He's done the score for Beyond the Beyond, Shining the Holy Ark, all 3 Shining Force 3 scenarios, and he's also done some music for Tri-Ace. He did all the Star Ocean music, and he's done all the music for Valkyrie Profile. And I gotta say, from all the music he's ever done, the Golden Sun games is by far his best to date. The wall map theme is amazing, and the battle theme is so addictive. I can listen to it for ages. And every area that you encounter, he would create the appropriate music, and it just sounded so good. The one thing I like about Golden Sun, and this is a trait that Camelot shared with the Shining Force 3 scenarios, was that in Golden Sun 1 you took control of Isaac, and among the game, one of the villains that you encounter is an old friend of his from the village called Felix. Now what I liked about this later on is that in Golden Sun The Lost Age, you take control of Felix and experience a whole new adventure through his eyes and from a different perspective. Now, a lot of people thought this was new and fresh, but they did this for Shining Force 3, where the main character Symbiote was in Scenario 1. Later on, he would encounter his opponent, one of the princes named Melodon. And then when Shining Force 3 Scenario 2 came out, you played as Melodon. So this is something that Camelot likes to do, and I really love their method of storytelling. But yes, I gotta say, I think that these 2 games together is the best experience on the Game Boy Advance, and you have to experience it. The games are absolutely rare. They're hard to find. Most of the time, you only find them with the cartridge. You won't find them boxed with the manual or the maps. Uh, they do range from prices. I haven't seen them at one price. Some people like to charge a ridiculous amount for them. The cheapest I've seen is about $30. They are quite rare. So if you find it, I highly recommend you buy it. It is a wonderful, wonderful game you have to experience in this lifetime. Now, I've been looking at vids for Dark Dawn, and I gotta say, I'm very impressed. Camelot has used the DS to its fullest. The graphics are absolutely jaw-dropping. I absolutely love them. The music, also done by Motoi Sakuraba, is still good, just as good as the first two games. I just recently listened to a remix of The Village of Vale, and it sounds so nice coming from the DS's speakers. I recorded on YouTube. I thought, wow, I gotta play this game as soon as I can. So pretty much, and the one thing I love more about the game, more than anything else, that in Dark Dawn, the characters you control, the first four members of the characters are the siblings of the first four party members of the original Golden Sun game. So they're the children of Isaac, Garrett, Ivan, and Mia, which I find extremely cool. Then I found out later on that characters from Golden Sun return, such as Isaac, 46-year-old Isaac, or 47. And then you've got Creighton, who's still alive, which amazes me. He looks pretty cool. And then I also saw the villains, and yes, he is back, and he looks cool. I won't tell you who that is, because I want you to experience the first two games before you understand what he is. And he looks awesome. I can't wait to see what happens. Okay, so basically, the one thing that probably has me annoyed right now is that none of the big game stores have that release dates for Golden Sun Dark Dawn here in Australia. They're pretty much saying it's going to come out next year in 2011, and that does not sit very good with me, because this is exactly what they did with Dragon Quest IX. Is it came out in America in July, and they hold off bring it to Australia until like late August, and I wasn't impressed. Like, I could have imported and played it like well before anyone else played it here in Australia, and I've got a feeling they're going to do the same theme with Golden Sun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head to Play Asia, and I'm going to place a pre-order, quick smart. So that's my Golden Sun games. Definitely find the copies if you can. If you're unsure about how they play, I urge you to type in Golden Sun here on YouTube and check the games out for yourself. You'll be very thoroughly impressed. Stay tuned. I've got another video coming out where I talk about two big announcements that happened this week, and you'll definitely get a kick out of them. So stay tuned.